Hey, everybody, I've got another exciting interview today. I've got Eve, who is a brand new homeowner in one of my favorite parts of the country in the whole world. She's in the Chicagoland area. Hi, Eve. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I took a quick look at our notes, and I'm so excited to get into your story. But since you're a homeowner as of, a month or two ago now,
Yeah.
almost 2 months today. In that whole process, what would be your biggest tip that you would tell people who are thinking about buying a home?
I think for me, the biggest tip was continuing to look at home buyer assistant programs, even if you think that you might have your income might be too high. You'll be surprised at what you can find.
That is a really good tip. You know, there are a lot of people, if they make a certain amount of money, they think, oh, I don't qualify. That's good. Okay, we'll get into that. I definitely want to know about that. Okay, so let's go through your story. You reached out to me in April, and then by June, you were under contract, closing in the middle of July. So
Yeah.
how much preparation had you done before you reached out to us?
So I actually have been listening to the podcast for I think like 2 years at that point. Yeah. So
You
I've been
didn't
like
tell me that, Eve.
I did not. Yeah. It like popped up on one of our local podcasts that I listened to, like the ad, and then I was like, oh, this sounds really helpful. And so I started
Oh, the
listening. I was
City
like,
Cast.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just started listening and I was like, oh, this is helpful. And I totally did not think of myself as someone who could own a home, especially by myself. And then through listening and then like doing some work and things like that over the years, I was like, oh, I could do this. So in April, what ended up happening was I had a really great rental situation in a really fun neighborhood I enjoyed here in Chicago. And I got a notice from my landlords that they had to sell suddenly due to their own financial issues. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I should look into buying. Like I've been wanting to do this. So that was how I ended up reaching out.
Wow. So you got the hammer knocked down, and I get it. Some people will be like, why should I even think about it? And it's like, I understand there are people that have really sweet rent deals, but even those don't last forever. So,
Yeah.
okay. So at that time, I think when you reached out, you said you had about 20 grand saved. Is that right?
Yes.
And you ended up buying a $418,000 place in like a matter of months. So now let's get into that down payment assistance program, because as I mentioned, sometimes there will be a maximum amount of money that you can make. Different states, sometimes it's like it can be as low as like you can't make more than $50,000 or $60,000. So a lot of times people don't look into them. So talk to us about this, Eve. What happened?
For me, what ended up happening was that I looked around and a lot of them did have similar kind of lower amounts. But I noticed, well, I had one of the leasing agent or the lender, there we go,
Yeah.
who I was working with. Elise, who David, the realtor, introduced me to, she was letting me know in the first place that some of the home or down payment assistance programs, they sometimes will change their rates, especially because of inflation and things. So that sort of helped me to be like, okay, let me keep an eye out. So I was already looking again, being like, maybe some of these would lift because salaries and other things have gone up, including housing. And so I was like, that would make sense. When I was doing that, I stumbled upon another program that was county specific. And that one happened to have like a much higher like income range. And I was like, oh, I would actually qualify for this, which was pretty cool. So I spoke to Elise again and was like, hey, like, will this program open up? Like, what's going on? Because it was one that was sort of limited times only that they opened it. And it just so happened that it was going to open during the period of time that I would be under contract, which was awesome.
So many valuable lessons in there for everybody. Number one, grab your unicorn team so that you have somebody helping you. That's great. We talk about that all the time. But you're so right. The income maximum qualifiers, they're there, but they change. And then like the time limitations on these, I cannot explain for everyone thinking, I don't care if someone bought a home 6 months ago with a down payment assistance program, there could be, or they couldn't find one 6 months ago or 6 weeks ago. These things come out at random times and they're out there until people grab them. And then when they run out of the money, they're gone. Wow. Okay. So Eve, was this just you? Were you a single lady buying?
Yes, I am.
Cool. Okay. So, wow, this is incredible. So was the down payment assistance program the thing that put you over the top? How much of a down payment did you end up using?
So the assistance program covered 5% of the house cost. And so that was what I ended up using for the down payment. And then it also brought down the interest rate because of within that program, you could, I don't know how, but they were able to give you different rates. So it was lower than what I would have gotten without the program, which was really nice. And so what I ended up doing is, since I had there was another like thing in there where I had to like also give in like 1% as part of that too. So it really covered like 4%. And then I
Yes.
got the discounted down interest rates.
Yep.
And then I also was able to buy down the rates, because with this program, you have to stay in the residence for 5 years, which I was like, I'm going to do that anyway. And
Yep.
then, yeah. And with that, you can't refinance or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, if that's the case, I'm going to come out even if I buy it down. So I bought it down by, did I buy it by like 1 point or 2 points? I think 2 points. So I was able to use the amount I was going to use, or some of it. Like, I think I ended up using like 3% of my own money for that, to buy it down a little bit. And then, yeah, so 2% to buy it down a little bit, 1% that had to go into that anyway. And then the rest I used for the closing cost.
This is amazing. 3 or 4 months ago, you were in a nice little lease with a killer rate, and now you sound like you're a mortgage broker. There are so many different pieces that come with the down payment assistance programs, and understanding the what they talk about. It's like, okay, well, this is where you hit your break even. I don't think people understand, because it's not on Google, how deep and how many different layers of advantages and benefits that you can get. And it's not researchable, because each one pops up as different and it might be gone in 6 or 8 months.
Yes.
So that's why you got to hire somebody that can help you through it and be able to compare all the different options. So then did your down payment end up being like did you use an FHA? Do you remember? Was it a 3.5%, or was it 5% down payment total, or a 3% down payment total?
So I used the 5% down payment, and I used a conventional loan.
Great. Wow. Okay. So then talk to us about the buying process. Where exactly were you, like in the city? Were you in Chicago in your old place, and did you buy out in the suburbs, or what did you do?
Oh, I'm still in the city. So so I lived in the city, and I was kind of like, oh, I want to stay in my neighborhood. But unfortunately, what I was finding in the neighborhood was like, stuff wasn't, when there's still in Chicago, there's a lot more limited, at the time I was looking, there was really limited inventory, and things were especially very pricey in that neighborhood. And so I was kind of like, okay, well, this is not I can't get as much as I would like here. So I ended up looking at a couple surrounding neighborhoods, because I was kind of, one of my big things was being like relatively still very close to work. And then also to my friends and community I made in my neighborhood. So what I ended up doing was moving to another neighborhood that borders it, just like a little bit north and west, which is also a really wonderful neighborhood, has a lot of like really fun things to do here, a lot of restaurants, cafes, very walkable. And so I was not thinking about this neighborhood at first. And then I found my place during an open house, and I was like, oh, I love this. So yeah.
Okay. So do you use public transportation, or do you have a car?
Both.
Both. Okay. that can happen sometimes, especially when you have a super cheap rent, where you kind of grow up in a neighborhood, it's close to work and close to your friends, and then you start to look to buy and go, hey, I can't afford where I live.
Yeah.
Um, but you ended up finding something, and so now you have two neighborhoods. That's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, it is. It's been really nice to really like challenge myself to branch out and explore. It's been like, it's also one of those things too where I've been in Chicago at this point again for like 5 years now. And I'm like, oh, I needed a bit of a change. So it's like perfect for that, like a different neighborhood, but still within the same city.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I hear so many people talk about, I want to stay renting so I can have a freedom and all that. But having a place in the city gave you that chance you still got your freedom. You got to explore and try something else.
Mhm.
But now you've got a piece of property in a city that's not going anywhere. Um,
Yes.
all right. So you talked to David, you got connected to the lenders, you went through the down payment assistance programs. What was the shopping process like for you going to look at with such low inventory?
So it was a little tough, especially because I had a bit of a time crunch too.
Yeah.
So what me and David did was at first he sat me down to make sure he understood like what my priorities were, where I would see myself in like time, things like that. He did a really good job getting, well, not only him getting the information from me, but getting me to really reflect and think about what I'm actually looking for and what I want my life to look like in this place. And then once we had that down, we did a lot of tours. So it was like a lot of evenings for me and him to go and like look at places. And I was looking at a couple different neighborhoods across the city as well. And it was kind of, we would try and do it like one neighborhood, see a couple of places in the same place or same neighborhood, and then sort of talk about it. So we saw some that were further out, still within the city, where I was like, oh, these are cute, but like, he would remind me, he was like, you really value being close to work. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I don't want to have a 45-minute commute. And then he also really encouraged me to go to open houses on the weekends. And so I would either go by myself or take like some friends with me, and we'd go to several in different neighborhoods. And also I would walk around to just get a feel of different neighborhoods to sort of understand like, what is it like? Would I like to live here? And then sometimes I would also schedule the viewings after work. So I would do the commute to get to the viewing. So I would know as well, like what that commute would look like.
So many great nuggets in there. Commute time showing, great idea. And if you don't have a showing during commute time, I'll tell people just drive to that neighborhood after work and then
Mhm.
drive through it. The fact that you were doing that little exploration in each little area, not just the home, but the community, so bright. Um, and walking the neighborhoods, probably the best thing about that for me to hear is that we want to make sure that you see everything that you can when you're working with a good real estate agent, but we also at some point have to go, we see like your eyes get big and go, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And then we have to go, it's 100,000 out of your budget, or it's 45 minutes from where you want to live. Remember, that was the main thing you said.
Mhm.
So within your process, since this was very much a surprise and you were under the gun, I know you're very prepared and you've been listening to the podcast, but not with the urgency. Were there surprises that happened, things about the process that you weren't ready for, or anything that you can kind of go, oh my gosh, if you got to do this quick, gang, look out for this.
Hmm. Um,
It's okay that you're pausing because it makes me think that you listening to the podcast for 2 years got you fully prepared, right?
it kind of did. Like I would knew like I need to have a lot of different paperwork really easily accessible. So I had that set up. I had already kind of figured out like during the time when I was like looking and then also when I was under contract, I kind of figured out at work like when I had a little bit of free time and when I wouldn't. And so I would use those times to like call and like do text messages and things related to home buying. So um, that was also like something I had there where I was like, okay, I feel pretty prepared about this. Um, I think that That's surprising. I think one of the things that was kind of surprising to me was the closing costs. Like my lender explained it really clearly to me, but I was like, wow, because I think it just, from what I understand, it varies a lot depending on where you live. And in Chicago, there was a lot of additional taxes and fees, and I was like, oh boy, this is like a lot more. And thankfully, I felt pretty okay. Like I was like, well, I have enough saved to like cover this. But it was also one of those things where I was like, oh wow, I was not expecting all these things, as well as being part of that. Um, but I think thankfully for me, my process was pretty smooth once I got under contract. And like everyone was pretty good at communicating with me. And things, I like, there was still definitely little bumps here and there, but for the most part, things moved pretty easily.
I mean, I can already tell just in our very short conversation, like, oh, I would very much enjoy working with Eve. I mean, you're bright, yet also cheery and optimistic. So that would be easy. So expand. So I want you to expand on the preparation of your docs. So you got all of your docs, which are your documents, but everyone in real estate calls them docs. You got them all together and like kept them in one place, and having that helped expedite things for you.
Yeah. So I think what ended up happening was when I first like spoke to when I first spoke to Elise, the lender,
Yes.
that's the right phrase, right?
It is. It is.
Okay, there we
They
go.
are a lender.
Yes.
You originally said something about them being in the lease world. Girl, you're done with that. Move on.
Yes. That's why I was like, I think that was the wrong one. The lender is correct. Okay.
Yeah. No, but it's not your fault. You can call them a lender. You can call them a mortgage person. You can call them a mortgage broker. It's a mess.
Mhm.
Real estate needs to pick a word and go with it.
Okay. So I'll call her my lender. So
Yes.
when I first started working with her for the pre-approval, she had me put in a lot of documents. And so a lot of those she was able to use when we actually went through under contract. So that saved me a lot of time during that period of time where I had to focus on the home inspection and like figuring out like other things, like talking to the real estate lawyer, stuff like that, versus
Yeah.
like finding these documents. So in that way, that was really helpful. Like it took some time up front, and it was also like a good way for me to go ahead and be like, oh, okay, like I do need this. Let me go find that or have this. So then those things were easily accessible in case they needed them again or someone else needed them for the rest of the process.
Giant lesson for everybody listening. If you're like, no, I don't want to get all this stuff to the lender, I'm not ready yet. If you go out and you go under contract, your next 30 days buying that home is going to be your full-time job, because now you have to do everything for the loan, which is an application process. And then you're going to have to do all the stuff that Eve's talking about, coordinating with the inspectors, talking to the attorneys. If you're in different states, you're going to be talking to escrow people. So I love what you said. And I also do appreciate the fact of what you're talking about, that you understood that for you it was a part-time job, not a full-time job, but doing all that stuff with coordinating with your work. You want to make sure you have that time to be able to do that. And then for everybody until the end of time, I'm going to tell you, talk to them about closing costs the day after you go under contract, because it's a lot. And y'all got some taxes there in Chicago.
Yeah.
And you prepay a lot. So you closed on the 14th, which means you had 16 days of pre-mortgage into your closing costs as well. You ended up, yeah. So, which means you didn't have an August payment on August 1st. So you only made your first payment as we record this 13 days ago.
Yeah.
So it was a lot for the closing costs, but it got offset a little bit because for 6 weeks you didn't have a shelter payment, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you had the down payment assistance program that was able to be something that actually you used a lot of it. You brought cash in, but it actually ended up. Do you feel like that made it possible for you at all? Or could you have done it without it and it was an addition?
I could have done it without it. So it was an addition, but it would have been like a little trickier. Like I think I would have. Well, one, that interest rate thing, it helped so much to have like it came in with a lower interest rate and
Yeah.
for me to be able to drop it more, like it makes my life a lot easier financially. And same with the like, because I would have put, I think, no, I would still put 5% down, I think. So yeah, but it still made my life a lot easier to like have it and to sort of have, like be able to then lower the rate and also save a little bit of my money as well.
One of the neat things about your story is you had your unicorn team, you had your realtor and your lender working for you, but you made it a partnership. You had the time ready for it. And then you went to open houses, and then you said you found this county down payment program and then had your team double check it. Did I hear that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So are you a little research person going home at night going, what else can I do?
If it's going to save me money, yes.
So have you been in Chicago for 5 years? You said? Where did you come from?
Oh, all over. So
Okay.
this is my third time living in Chicago.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But you feel like you're settled now and that's why you want the place? Or are you thinking about having the place as potentially using it as a rental later? Or did you just feel like with the down payment and it was just too good to pass up?
I've lived in a lot of places. I've moved around a lot. So I found myself like and I did a lot of schooling and things, hence the moving around. But once I finished all that and I was starting my career, like my family lives not super far away. And I was like, I love Chicago. Out of all the places I've lived, this is the most livable, and I see myself living here for a long time. But I was like, let me first live here for a while first and see if I like it, if I'm going to get an itch to move. And instead, I had the itch to like nest and stay here. So that's what happened there. So I was like, okay, I think it's time. I've been wanting to buy. Let me do it. Like, because this is like home for me.
Since you're in your nesting mode, when you got into it and realized, okay, this is close, I can maybe do it on my own. How much of the education with all the interest rates and all that stuff did you do on your own after you found it? And how much of it were you getting the guidance and coaching from at least your lender?
Oh, she coached me a ton.
Yeah.
There was, I feel like I literally called her daily and I was like, oh, poor Lise. She's just hearing from me all the time with all these like questions and things. But she was wonderful. Like she was really good at giving me information about it, sort of explaining what different things would look like. She gave me an estimate of my closing cost, like really like close to like, I don't know if it was right before we went under contract or right after, but something like that. And she also was really helpful in sort of overestimating. So I would be over prepared than like under prepared, which was awesome. And so usually I would talk with her and then I would look up to like understand more if there's something I didn't fully get or something like that, or to fully comprehend a little bit more. And so that was really helpful.
It's always nice when you have that, just the people that specialize with working with first-time home buyers and specialize in, a referral-based business, because, when they treat you great, Elise isn't waiting for her next lead to come from someone, clicking a link after a commercial. She's working with great realtors like David. And then she's, if anyone asks you about, hey, you bought a home, that's awesome. It's not like you're going to tell them about Elise. So that's the way that our businesses grow. That's why this whole little project has been created. It's been a while now that you're moved in. How is the true nesting going in your nest? How's the place?
So the nesting is going. It's more so like just unpacking and wanting to organize stuff the way I want to organize it and wanting to paint and things. So it's the decision making. I've made a lot of decisions and I think I'm a little decision tired right now.
Well, as you mentioned, it's good advice for everyone. It's a full-time job. You right now feel weird because you're not talking to your lender every day. Yeah, under contract is a different world, gang. And so people think when I move in, you might be a little mentally shook when you move into a new place.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, I don't talk to them at all anymore. But I do, like, they'll text me things like that. Like they're not completely gone, but it's not like the same. Like when I was under contract or looking, like Dave and I were communicating all the time. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I saw this place. What do you think about this? Can you find out about this? So yeah, like it is different. But like I really love it. It's a really wonderful place. I love the area. The space is really lovely, and I feel like it like worked out. It like fit like the majority of things I was looking for.
Are you in a condo, townhome, high rise, regular? What are you in?
So I'm in a condo, but it's like a small building. That's like a historic building, like a old building, which is really
Oh,
cool. So it has a lot of charm.
oh, I love those places in Chicago. Those are great. Do you know, is it a small HOA or is it a big HOA
It's a small one.
with one of those little historic places? That's nice.
Yeah.
So what was the inspection like? How old is that thing?
Ooh, it is built in I think 1880s, like 1888.
Okay,
Yeah.
section 2 of the podcast. How to inspect an 1880 home. Give us the details, Eve. Go. What happened?
So basically, I found out that they did like because the inside is renovated. So I think when they did the renovations, they did a good job because like the inspection didn't bring up that much. It came out pretty good during the inspection. There was like a couple small things that I that needed fixing, but it wasn't anything intense, which is nice.
So overall, all the big stuff, foundations and roofs and all that, that was all comfy cozy.
Yeah, they've been doing a good job with upkeep.
Wow. Well, it's probably sturdier than all the buildings built in the last 50 years in the area. So,
True.
wow. Um, Unbelievable. I still just cannot believe I wouldn't have called me either if you were in a great lease place for that time. But then you got forced, and after 2 years, we ended up getting you in contact with the unicorn and getting under contract in 6 weeks in a home in under 3 months. So,
Mhm.
wow, Eve, you're the best. Um,
Uh,
thank, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story with everyone. I really, really appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you for inviting me to do this. I'm happy to share and to be like, oh yeah, as a single woman, I was able to do this on my own. So
I can't tell you. I'm getting more and more excited. I have so many. The stats nationwide are that way, but you are going to be an inspiration to many others. And kudos to you, and thanks for coming on.
you're very welcome.
Thanks.
Bye.